Thanks for checking into the State of Basketball podcast, episode 16. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaron Will each and every week. We're going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I basketball schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
it's just basketball.
Well, we just got done watching two games. We watched the end of the Southern Indiana game, get a big win, and we watched Purdue get a big win against their rival. So some highs, some lows, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you also did bury the lead a little bit. We are recording a day early. We usually record on Sundays. We are recording on Saturday because Sunday is the Superb Owl. Be
careful. You can't. You're getting too close to the actual name. You're gonna get us like taken down. Saying the real name.
I purposely did what I said.
The game.
Yeah, we are recording a day early because of the game. So.
And there's no games tomorrow. So
yeah, it kind of works out.
Nothing's going to change.
Yep, there's a couple out-of-state games, but we are the state of basketball, and we care about the other 49 states games, but they're
But only when we get to that segment.
Yeah. Those are the least important of what we talk about. So we are okay missing that. So
you just want to get right into it?
Yeah, let's go through the power rankings. This week, our Week 14 power rankings at 11, IUPUI. At 10, Valparaiso.
Ooh,
little
something's
shift.
Changing. The winds of change.
At 9, Adam alluded to it. Big win today, Southern Indiana. Number 8, probably the most drastic change, Ball State. 8, Ball State. That rhymes.
That's why we put them there. That was the only reason.
Yep. Number 7, Purdue Fort Wayne. Old and strong. Number 6, because of some chirping we had on our social media channels.
No, because we evaluated their win this week.
Yes. Evansville. Number 5, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. The Fighting Shrewsburys, really.
Fighting Marcus Burtons.
That is valid. Number 4 is Indiana. Number 3, the Trees, Indiana State. Number 2, best mascot in college basketball, Butler. Number 1, Purdue. I like I like the dramatic pause.
Yeah, everyone was like, "What's that 11th team again? That team I keep forgetting about." We're getting close to the end of the regular season. I think I saw it was like there's maybe this was like after this week there's like 5 more Saturdays. 4 or 5 more. There's only like 4 or 5 more Saturdays left in the college basketball regular season. So we're winding down here in the regular season. So
a lot of our teams are, in the hunt, really. This is crunch time for a lot of teams.
Yeah, we need some of our teams to come through and be bid stealers in the conference tournament, because otherwise we're going to just be talking about Indiana State, Butler, and Purdue.
Pretty much, yeah.
For as long as they're in the tournament, I guess.
I mean, our first team, Ball State, like they're sitting at 9th in the MAC. They might not even make the conference tournament. So we might be done talking about them, which is heartbreaking to me, being my alma mater.
Yeah, they might make some if they don't make the tournament, they might make some portal moves or something. There might be some news because the portal stupidly opens like right after Selection Sunday.
Yeah,
and it's a whole mess. But so we might get some news, and if we get news like that, but that's down the road. Let's get into our first school, Jaron. Let's talk about your alma mater, Ball State.
Yep. So they are 257 in KenPom. That's a drop from last week at 252. They did unfortunately go 0-2 this week. They're still 500 on the season. Overall, they're 4-7 in the MAC. That's, like I said, they're 9th place currently. They lost versus Ohio in overtime, 84-79. And they lost at Texas State in the MAC Sunbelt Challenge, 68-60. That Ohio game, it was heartbreaking. I mean, they had several chances at the end of the game. They had really two chances to take the lead in the final 40 seconds. Ohio just kind of locked them down, and then in overtime they missed 5 free throws that would have, they lost by 5. Making those 5 free throws could have forced double overtime.
If there's ever a worse time to miss your free throws, it's right there.
Yeah, and I mean, they
literally
shot
the worst time possible.
and then they shot their free throws well in the first and second half, so they just weren't ready to play an extra 5 minutes, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was a weird game. Like, Jihad really struggled. He was like 4 of 17. He only had like 13 points, which he's been consistently like above 20.
Yep.
But I mean, they like got down and clawed it back to force overtime. But like you said, they just couldn't make those free throws.
Yep.
So I mean,
and then
yeah, that sucks. And then the part 2, I guess, of the MAC Sun Belt Challenge.
Yep.
Did not go well for Ball State.
No, I mean,
it did not go well for the MAC at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, going into the game against Texas State, Ball State pretty much led in every statistical category, like compared to Texas State. They just, I mean, Jalen Anderson had 5 points. He's been their steady. He's been their leader.
Mm-hmm.
Running.
He's
the
been
offense
very consistent.
And it didn't help. Texas State won the bench point 39-0.
Yeah, and I mean that's an issue we've seen kind of all season with Ball State.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you think a guy like Mason Jones, who's started a handful of games, has been playing pretty decently. You'd think that he would at least pick up a couple points, and they just didn't. So it was unfortunate.
It felt like the Ball State of like a month ago, where they just could not win on the road.
Yep,
and it was just bad all around. And like the MAC, like we said, so the first round of the MAC Sun Belt Challenge, the MAC won. They won 7-5. And there's still one game tomorrow, but right now in round 2, which I guess they tried to like pair up teams with similar resumes and similar records. So that's why Ball State played Texas State. But right now the Sun Belt is up 9-2 with one more game to go. So they're going to win the literal belt,
Yeah.
Which sucks because I felt like they had a good chance. Like I liked a lot of the matchups that they like. I felt that the matchups were favorable for the MAC, and I thought Ball State, like going into this game, I thought there was no reason why Ball State should lose.
Yeah.
And they just didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
didn't win rather.
Right. Yeah. Going on to Butler, they dropped 2 spots, which kind of surprises me. I know it's probably not a lot to do with them, but just, teams around them as well. They did go 1-1 this week. They're 16-8 overall, 7-6 in the Big East. They lost at UConn by 9, 71-62, and they won over Providence 75-72.
Mm-hmm. Did you see after the game that like Dan Hurley was saying that like Butler is a tournament team because Butler, according to some bracketologists, are saying like this is a bubble team or whatever. I mean they lost by 9 and they played them closely in Hinkle.
Yeah.
They might have honestly played them closer or the same at in Stores as they did in Hinkle.
Yeah.
But I mean like that to only lose by 9 to UConn,
it's pretty impressive.
And to not even like didn't really shoot well or anything, like 22% from 3. But
I mean UConn I think is, in my opinion, the best team in college basketball again this year. And
could for sure go back to back.
Yeah. But I mean, watching this game, Cam Spencer, we dealt with it in the Big Ten. Now he's in the Big East. Thank God he's not in the Big Ten at least. But because then
he only has to play one of the teams we follow,
right? Instead of 2. Yeah, but he's the Big East's biggest villain. He just the dude makes you hate playing against him.
He belongs at Duke. You know what I mean?
He's just one of those guys.
He's the white dude that you would love to hate at Duke.
Yep.
But he's at UConn and he is taking the villain role seriously.
Yeah.
I don't think it was this game. It was the game. I don't remember who they played before, but I don't remember if we talked about it last week. Did you see him he was chirping at the student section? He was literally throwing L's at the student section.
Yeah.
And I love it. When we're not playing, when we're not following a team that's playing them,
Absolutely. But I mean, crazy stat I saw, Butler, they're 3-7 all time against teams ranked number 1 in the AP poll.
That's not terrible.
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible because Butler wasn't
they're not historically like
they didn't become a high major until
Yeah.
Brad Stevens busted them on the scene.
But I got a free throw for you. So Butler and UConn have played each other a total of 9 times ever, going back to 2011, which I believe is when they
that was
joined
the
Big
national
East.
championship game. That was probably the worst national championship game in our lifetime.
Oh yeah. But can you guess what Butler's record against UConn is in those 9 games?
I actually know this, not because I saw the stat, but I actually know this. They've never beaten UConn.
Yep, they're 0-9.
Yeah, they've never beaten UConn. I mean, they haven't played them a lot because obviously I don't remember what year they joined the Big East, but then UConn then left the Big East.
Yeah,
and then joined back into the Big East, so they haven't played each other very much. But yeah,
still kind of crazy.
UConn's just
I
nuts.
went on a little like historical matchup kind of thing for several of our teams. So I've got some historical matchups that we'll talk about with other teams. I was curious. I like looking at those things.
Yeah. One last thing about the UConn game is Posh Alexander's now he's surpassed the 500 career assist mark. So good for him. That is, setting people up is his bread and butter. I mean, in the Providence game, I think he was close to another triple-double. He was 2 boards and 2 assists away from another triple-double. So, I mean, the dude he's
just a baller.
Yeah, he is like a perfect point guard for the way that Thad wants to play because he just trusts everybody.
Yep. But yeah, talking about the Providence game, another little historical context. This was Butler's first win over Providence since 2020. Kind of wild. It's been 4 years.
That's Ed Cooley, man.
Yeah. I mean, and also Butler is 6-19 against Providence all time.
Well, I mean, again, I'm going to make excuses, but they joined the Big East and Brad Stevens was gone. So they just,
Yeah, but
it's like the guy, it's like Moses led them out and then just pieced out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm with
But
you.
I mean, yeah, that is surprising. So it's nice to see Butler not, I guess, at the bottom of the Big East.
Yeah.
Now. And, Thad has been as good as we thought.
They've got some respect on their name again, I think is really what it boils down to.
Yeah, because like for a while it was Butler being the team that like you go to Hinkle and you lose randomly and it's like, no, it's Hinkle.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Now they're actually like beating Marquette at Marquette and they're beating Creighton at Creighton. And it's like they're competing and that's just Thad Matta.
Yeah.
I mean, people want to draw lines in the sand or whatever and say that Providence was without their best player. So if you don't know, Josh Aduro is their leading scorer, and he was not at this game because his wife was giving birth.
Good for him.
So good for him. Obviously, that is where he should be.
Yeah,
no questions asked. But like, Twitter was on fire because people are always tracking planes on Twitter, and someone was like, "There's a plane going from Providence to Indianapolis and it's going to land at this time." And people were like, that would give him like no time to warm up. And people were like convinced it was him. It was not him. But it's nice to see that like a non BYU player is married and and having kids and still playing basketball at a very high level. It just reminds me of like Xavier Tillman from Michigan State a couple years ago when he had his kid and he then changed his jersey, then changed to Xavier Tillman Sr. because he had his son. It's just a nice, heartwarming thing. But
for sure.
Good win. I mean, that's a really great win that Butler got against Providence.
Yeah.
Like, what did they beat? They won at Creighton, and it's like, okay, they're definitely in the tournament. Now they're playing to just stay farther away from the bubble. I think they're safely off the bubble now. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they can go back on, but if you're a Butler fan, you should feel good.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they're playing for a single-digit seed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is what they should be, in my opinion. But
yeah, I think them at a 9 is probably where they want to end up, a 9 or 8.
Yeah,
but we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of like congestion. I think you're talking about like Indiana State being in that same conversation. So it's just. I enjoy having multiple teams that we can talk about in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially it'll make for better content for us too once the tournament starts because we'll still be talking about our guys.
Yeah, and if Butler and Indiana State are on the 8-9 line, they probably won't play each other. They haven't played each other yet. Well, they don't have to avoid each other in the first round,
right?
But then they could be screwed. Like then they could have to go against Purdue in the second round, which would suck for us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But
I mean, I guess it would guarantee that one of the teams we talk about continues on. So
yeah. Yeah.
positives and negatives there.
Yeah. Some more positives and negatives. Evansville, positive. They moved up in KenPom. They broke the top 200, I think, again this season. I believe they were in the top 200 earlier this season, but they're at 189 now. Last week they were 204, so substantial jump there. They went 1-1 this week. They're 15-10 overall with a 6-8 conference record. They're on the right track. Hummerkaus is back. They're playing like they should. They did get a win over Bradley, huge win, 73-70. They did lose at Murray State, 73-70 as well.
Yeah. First of all, even though I've seen both of these games and talked about this, that is the first time that I'm like realizing that they had the exact same score. Theirs on the other end.
Yep.
Of it.
Yep.
They're just playing so much better now that Hummerkaus is back.
Oh yeah.
Like I think him being gone gave people on the team an opportunity to like shine a little bit.
Yeah.
But now like they can shine and have like that guy that they defer to.
Yeah. Well,
so built their confidence a little bit.
And I saw a stat with Hummerkaus, they're 14-1.
Yeah.
Without, they're 1-9. Yeah. So that kind of tells you what the impact this guy makes.
Yeah. And like not like they would have been 9-1 because they got blown out by like 40 points or something crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
By like Drake, right? Didn't they get blown out by Drake?
Yeah. They got absolutely railed.
So, because I remember coming on here, we were like, he's not worth 40 points. Like, I will admit he's not worth 40 points.
Yeah.
But it's just a completely different team with him back. Led them in scoring in the first game, but then Tanner Cuff led them in scoring in the Murray State game.
Yeah. I mean, the Murray State game, it was tough to watch because they were down most of the game. They battled back late in the game. But the game kind of watching it, obviously wanted Evansville to win, but there were several Yassine Toomey, he got caught, a blocking foul called on him. Mm-hmm. Should have been a charge. He lowered his shoulder into the guy. He went to the line, hit the 2 free throws, and that put them within one. They were down 68-69 at that point. Nice. A couple possessions later, same kind of situation happened. Hummerkaus lowered his shoulder into a guy. Mm-hmm. They called a blocking foul instead of a charge. It was a true ball don't lie moment because at that point they were tied 70-70. Hummerkaus went to the line, missed both his free throws. Murray State got the rebound. There were 3 seconds left. Then they went out and just hit an absolute dagger for 3 to pretty much walk the game off. So it was unfortunate that they lost due to that, but I'm a proponent of ball don't lie, and this was a true ball don't lie moment.
Well, you have to say, did he lower his shoulder, or was the new blocking charge rule a factor? I don't know.
Who knows? It's not like
I ain't a ref.
Yeah, we're not refs. We don't know. We're just watching it, and I would love to be a ref, but I would hate to be a ref.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I would be a high knees ref though, 100%.
No. You want to be a ref that no one knows your name. If no one knows your name, you're doing great.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, that's
fair.
Jeffrey Anderson. You're like, if you literally say Bo Borowski to anyone, they're not like, I love Bo. He's my favorite ref.
Yep.
No one has ever known a ref's name in a happy way.
Who was the Big Ten ref last year that everyone was just hated? I can't think of his name.
Larry Scarato.
Yep.
And we saw him at the Ball State game we went to.
He did call a Ball State game.
Yeah. And a lot of these refs, like literally when the high knees ref, I think his name is isn't it Jeffrey Anderson? Him?
I believe
the
so.
The high knees ref, obviously. People tweet about him all the time, and it's like, dude literally works every day.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. The Bradley win was a very good win. I think that's a top 75 KenPom win. So that's a really, really good win. Bradley's tough, and I think like Murray State is just a very tough place to play in.
Yep.
So it's just nice to see that they competed, and I think this is a team that their record is going to have them under their record because Hummerkaus is out is going to have them underseeded in Arch Madness, and so you're going to see some interesting things happening based on their matchup.
Yep.
So they could muck it up, and maybe they knock off someone like Bradley or someone like Drake, or knock someone off and make the, get into the championship game and pull something off. I think the only way that Indiana State isn't the only team to make it out is if Indiana State loses.
Yep.
I don't want them to lose unless they lose to Evansville or the more unlikely Valpo.
Yeah.
So I think because Drake lost, if Drake had beat Indiana State at Indiana State, I think the conversation is a little bit more interesting. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, I like how they played. Murray State's hard to play, and I think the team has a lot of fight in them. But
yeah,
let's move on.
Yeah, Indiana, they moved up. They've broke the top 100. Well, I guess they're still in the top 100 if they're at 100, but now they're at 97, up from 100. They went 1-1 this week. 14-10 overall, 6-7 in the Big Ten. They got a pretty decent win at Ohio State. I think it was the first quad one win of the season.
Yeah, it was their first quad one, at least at the time, and Ohio State at least won the next game. So.
Yeah, it was 76-73. Then they lost at Purdue 79-59. The Ohio State game, though, so for the longest time, when you say the Leal game, you think of Purdue 2 years ago when he hit the shot that helped them, I believe, when Archie, or in Woodson's first year. He had a couple big threes, if I'm remembering correctly.
I blacked out everything but the Finney 3.
That's fair. But Leal stepped up big last week, 13 points to help them win a game.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State, he only had 6 points, but those 6 points are what won them the game. He hit a three to put them up 1, and then hit 2 big free throws to put him up 3. And I mean, he had 6 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. The dude just every category you can have pretty much. He put up stats, so it's good to see Leal really hitting his stride.
Yeah,
because he's a guy that
everyone in Indiana roots for.
Yeah, and he's been buried on the bench for really his entire career.
He played like a little bit when Archie was the coach, but like not as much.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess more, I think, but it's nice to see him getting minutes, and I don't know if that's so much of a reward for him, or like I don't have anyone else to play because CJ Gunn has been like unplayable.
Yep, and Caleb Banks has been also kind of unplayable
completely. But yeah, so but it's nice to see that, when he takes his time off from selling houses, he's out there balling.
Selling houses and promoting the Leal deal.
Yeah, what were they down, like 18 in this game on Tuesday?
They were down 18 to Ohio State. And actually, that's their largest comeback since 1998, when they trailed Indiana State by 19. So that was pretty cool to have, kind of a historical night from that perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of the Evansville Bradley game, because Evansville was up like 17, and they ended up fighting off and not letting Bradley complete the comeback, but IU was down 18 at Ohio State and ended up completing the comeback and won by 3. So got a quad one win, and then you're feeling good. Malik has 26, Galloway has 25, and then
Purdue happened.
Yeah, the team's been yo-yoing up and down.
Yep.
A good game, bad game, or like squeak out a game. Like the last time, can you tell me? I literally just thought of this now. Can you tell me the last time they won 2 in a row? It was not this year. I'll give you that clue. It was not this calendar year.
It was probably like December.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably like, what, Morehead State, Kennesaw State?
There's North Alabama in the middle there. They did string 3 together.
Okay.
So they started off 3.
I couldn't exactly remember in what order they played, but...
Yeah. So they went.
What I really meant was Morehead State through Kennesaw State.
Yeah. You saw what I was doing.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
But it's just win one, lose one, and then they had that 3-game skid. Now, I mean, is it fair to say that every game is a must win?
I think it was fair to say every game was a must win a week ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's still there's still a path to the NCAA tournament because you still got Wisconsin on the schedule. You've still got Michigan State on the schedule, which is somehow 16th in Ken Palm.
Yeah, I saw that the other day, and I was just like, that's...
So, like, you've got Northwestern at home, which will probably be, I guess, would be a quad 2. Nebraska at home, Penn State, Wisconsin, Maryland away. So you've got Wisconsin, Maryland, Michigan State. Like, if you win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you win 6 of those 7, you might be okay. Then you're then you're 12 and 8.
I mean, I'm of the mindset that their path is
win the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah. I think that's I think that's the reality.
Yeah. Win the Big Ten tournament, get a 14 seed. Yeah.
Still in the tournament. Doesn't matter what seed you are.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're a play-in game.
What do the Woodson haters do then? Went to 3 straight tournaments, won the Big Ten tournament for the first time ever.
They'd still hate. There's just the Woodson haters are going to be Woodson haters no matter what he does.
That's true. Is there anything else you want to talk about this Purdue IU game from the IU side?
I mean, you brought it up. CJ Gunn pretty much been unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't really done anything. He was the leading scorer against Purdue. He had 13. He was 3 for 4 from 3. You saw some confidence. There was he had some dog in him in the game.
Yeah.
You could see he got
came
fired
in
up.
He was ready to play.
Yeah.
Like he was not going down without a fight. Unfortunately, he got in it. He got like real minutes.
Yeah.
When Woodson was like, I can't play Cups in this game.
Yeah, I mean Cups played 16 minutes. Gunn played 20.
Yeah.
Cups was 0 for 2. Cups just couldn't. He just was struggling against Braden Smith. I think that's just what it boils down to.
I think people will push back on it because people are very, very, I don't know. A lot of people are very anti Xavier Johnson, but if you can have Xavier Johnson or Trey Galloway on, one of them on Lance Jones, one of them on, Braden Smith, it changes the game entirely. I'm not saying IU wins this game. I'm not even saying they lose by just 10. It just changes the game from an IU side because they just couldn't stop Braden Smith, and they couldn't stop. If you can't stop Braden Smith, you're probably not going to be able to stop Zach Edey.
Yeah.
Because it's a direct feed right there.
Yep. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's talk about Indiana State.
Great week for them. So they moved up 1 spot in Ken Palm, and they went 2-0. So they're 21-3 overall, 12-1 in the Missouri Valley. So they're sitting really pretty. I think they've got a 2-game lead on any other team in the Missouri Valley right now. They heard Lunardi chirping, saying that they need to win every Missouri Valley game and go into quadruple overtime in the championship of Arch Madness and lose to get an at-large bid.
Yep.
And so they came out against Valpo and they won by 40. And then they won at Missouri State, which people on Twitter kind of informed us that has been a struggle for Indiana State to win at Missouri State. And so they did that, and they won 73-71. So they've gutted out some wins, made it past poor shooting performances, and just found a way to win.
Yep.
Which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, in the Valpo game, I want to calling him out, our boy Cody at Smash Hit Sports.
Okay.
He posted last week that Robbie Avila was a walking double-double. I want to counter that by saying Jason Kent, walking double-double.
That's what sure.
He leads the Missouri Valley in total rebounds with 200. He also leads with the most double-doubles, 8. Robbie Avila is tied for second with 5. So
I mean, they played how many games? 24.
This is all
just Missouri Valley.
Just Missouri Valley.
13.
Yeah, so they played 13. So
he has 8 out of 13 games. He had a double-double. And he got a 20 rebounds the other night.
Yeah, I mean, he leads in the most 10 rebound games with 10. Robbie Avila is tied for third with 6. So dude's just a rebound machine. He's the only player in the league with the 20 rebound game.
Good for him. I'm not in that locker room, but he just feels like he's the heart and soul of that team. That he just, he's the one that fights and claws. He's like the Eric Mulder kind of that team, just a little more productive.
Yep.
But Josh Shirt's son, Jaden, almost got his first collegiate points. So
that's what we like to see.
It's unfortunate he didn't get there, but he will get there.
Still, yeah. We like to see coaches' sons playing well. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I think it also like it adds value because like a coach is gonna give their son a scholarship in most cases.
Or you've got like Steven Izzo, who is a walk-on.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they'll just give them one. I mean, Braden Shrewsbury would have gotten one
anyway
because Notre Dame needed bodies.
Yeah,
but
I think it like it not gratifies. There's a word that I can't think of, but it like it validates, it justifies them getting a scholarship if they're actually playing well.
I don't think he's on scholarship though.
Is he not?
I would assume he hasn't scored. He's like he hasn't seen the game.
True.
I mean, they run a short bench anyway, but
that's true.
It's just nice to see him. I'm sure that's like it's always. I think it's fun to see coaches be dads.
Yeah.
Like Chris Collins all the time. You see when they get like his family's right there. So
unless your last name is McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'm out on them.
Yep.
Yeah.
But interesting stat going into the Missouri game.
Back it up. Rewind 15 seconds in real life, but not
going
on the pod.
Into the Missouri.
All right, rewind that again. Take that. Rewind it back.
Going into the Missouri State game.
Okay. Yep.
Indiana State. This doesn't surprise me, but Indiana State leads the conference in scoring offense, scoring margin, field goal percentage, free throw percentage, 3-point field goal percentage, 3-point field goals made. 11 per game. Doesn't surprise me, but that's just wild in general. Assists per game.
In other words, they're the best team in the conference.
Yep,
they are.
I think for anyone who is questioning
the Missouri Valley runs through Terre Haute.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
and I think they've set them. I'm not a bracketologist. That's gonna be my phrase. I'm not a bracketologist, but I think that they've set themselves up to be in the tournament no matter what. There were just a bunch of BS fouls. I mean, it was like it wasn't like a foul discrepancy in two ways. It wasn't like a foul discrepancy in the Purdue Northwestern game where it was like absurd one way,
like 45 fouls to 8.
It was like pretty over the top one way, but I didn't feel like the way they were playing justified the foul discrepancy in this game. Yeah. Whereas like the Northwestern Purdue game, I felt like Northwestern was not pounding it into the paint.
Yeah.
So
they're not playing in a way that's going to draw fouls.
Yeah.
Typically.
I mean, like Jason Kent fouled out and he only had 24 minutes. So I mean, like,
right.
It is what it is. I mean, they're a gritty team who found a way to win on the road with the refs against them, and got the win. So they are legit.
Yep. Team that's not so legit, unfortunately.
Not this matchup. Not this game. But the last time they played this team, they were.
Yeah. But I'm just saying in general.
Yeah, according to the rankings.
I'm just saying in general. IUPUI, they moved back down to 361.
They are
from 360.
They are just ping ponging back and forth.
Yeah. At least they're not in last. At least they're not the worst.
They're
team.
like in the way that Purdue is not gonna reach first in Ken Pom.
IUPUI is not gonna reach last.
There's a safe cushion there.
Yep. But they did go 0-1 this week. They are 6-20 overall, 2-13 in the conference. They lost to PFW. PFW came in with a vengeance. They lost 92-65.
Yeah.
They were like, you beat us at home, we're going to beat you at home.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to run you out of your own arena. It's really kind of what it boiled down to.
Yeah, I think it came in like last game. The way the game was felt, it felt like the players just didn't get up. Like the PFW players did not get up for the IUPUI game in Fort Wayne, and they were obviously motivated. And it shows with the score. It shows that Purdue Fort Wayne played their game. This is kind of how I expected both of their matchups to go.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, the way that the PFW team we saw in November and December, I was like, they're gonna run everyone off the floor in conference.
Yeah.
And they've hit some hiccups,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess this is the IUPUI section, so good for them for getting that win.
Yeah, I mean
against PFW in Fort Wayne.
I'm even thinking back to last year. We caught the IUPUI at Purdue Fort Wayne game, and we said, I mean, I think at that point IUPUI was last in Ken Palm.
Yeah, they were right there.
And we watched that game and we were like, and we both kind of agreed, this doesn't look like the worst team in college basketball because they played PFW pretty close. They lost.
Jalen Counter popped off. Yeah, and but everything.
They still played close. But little more historical matchup data for you.
Okay.
Surprisingly, IUPUI leads the all-time series against PFW 33-22, dating back to 1972.
Wasn't IUPUI good?
Yeah,
before
they were pretty good.
We were paying attention to ball.
Yep. Interesting. Longest win streak was nine
PFW?
games. Yep, IUPUI against PFW.
Okay.
IUPUI's had a 9-game win streak from 2004 to 2009. They're 20-7 all time at home, and 13-14 all time on the road. 14-11 in conference games. So IUPUI historically has Purdue Fort Wayne's number.
Yeah.
Interesting to see.
That's nice for them. I want to see them bring it back. They got to figure out a way to get this program back because
I mean, Crenshaw's in his 3rd year.
I have no idea. I'll find it. But it just feels like everyone knows about IUPUI, and not in a good way.
Right.
He is in his 3rd year. Everyone knows about IUPUI, but not because they're good, but because they were so bad, and everyone still tries to act like this is the same team that was holding open tryouts
4 years ago.
Stuff that was before Matt Crenshaw got here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. The kind of thing that stunk most to me about this game is that it was senior day.
Yeah.
And they got run off the floor.
Yeah.
Bryce Monroe had 16. Jalen Counter got a tech in the first half, and he had to sit the last 13 minutes of the first half. And they were 1 for 8 from 3, which is on brand. And they just kind of stopped shooting threes at one point, which felt like I was watching an IU game,
Yeah.
But they had a really weird 5-point trip down the floor where Maximus Nelson fouled someone on a shot. So then he got, a free throw, and then Maximus Nelson was jawing with someone, and so he got a tech, which was then his 5th foul. So he got ejected, and then they ended up making both free throws there. So it was a 5-point trip down on that side of the floor, which you don't see very often. But I just want to see them win some more. Ultimately, I don't know that it'll happen this year. I think this is a little bit of a letdown for this season, but we'll see how the season ends. But let's talk about Notre Dame, Jaren. So they went up in Ken Palm, 153 from 165 in Ken Palm. They are 1-1. They're 1-1 this week, and they're 8-16 overall, 3-10 in the ACC. Which there's still time to make some noise in the ACC, but we'll see what they do. They lost at Duke. They played Duke closely in the first game, but Duke swept them this year, which is expected, 71-53, and then they won over Virginia Tech at home, 74-66. So good for them getting that win. I'm glad that they got that win, and I think that a big reason is Mr. Basketball. I mean, Marcus Burton in that Virginia Tech game played out of his mind in every single way possible.
Yeah. I mean, he in that game, he became the 7th Notre Dame player since 1996 to have 15 points, 5 assists, and 5 steals in a game. He finished with 16 points, 8 assists, and 6 steals. So, I mean, he was doing it all. But really, I mean, in the Virginia Tech game, it was a full team effort in my opinion. They had several guys in double digits. They just played great defense, like you'd kind of expect from them, and it was impressive. It was fun to watch, really, because it came down to the wire. I mean, an 8-point game.
Mm-hmm.
It got close. I missed the end of the game because I switched over to the start of the IU Purdue game.
Yeah.
But there was like
But
20 seconds
you knew
left.
it felt like it was done.
Yeah, there were like 20 seconds left, and it was safely in.
Yeah, it's
Notre
nice to
Dame's
see
hands.
that Shrews has them playing such tough defense when they are not performing super well offensively.
Yep.
That's hard. I feel like to get buy-in when you aren't playing super well offensively, but he's able to do it. And I think when he gets those pieces, like he'll run the same offense essentially.
Yeah.
It will just work better.
Right.
But I mean, a great win. They swept Virginia Tech. No, they beat Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
So this is their first, I think, game against Virginia Tech. But they had a good win, and we don't really want to talk. I don't really want to talk about the Duke game because it's Duke. I don't know. The refs won them the game. That's what we'll say, right?
I mean, the only thing I'll say is Duke out rebounded them 43-35, and outscored on second chance points 21-2.
Yeah.
So I think that
it's
kind of
the offense.
Yeah.
It's just
that's really all I want to
there.
say about the Duke game. Let's talk about Purdue Fort Wayne. They went up in KenPom. They're at 153 from 165. They went 1-1 this week, 16-9 overall, 7-7 in the conference. They lost to Cleveland State, 75-72. Then obviously they won at IUPUI, like we talked about, 92-65.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That Cleveland State game felt a little bit like the like these games that they've lost where they've like had it in the bag, or like they were close to winning it in the end and they lose it at the end, or they give it away on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Because like what they lose on, they Bello shot a buzzer beater and missed to send it to OT.
Yep.
Yeah, that stinks.
Yeah. I mean, more historical information on PFW and Cleveland State. PFW is actually 3-12 all time against Cleveland State, going back to 1994. They are 1-1 in triple overtime games against Cleveland State, though.
Wow.
Yep. Here's I think
they
my
played 2 triple overtime games.
Yeah. Here's my last. I think it's my last free throw for you.
Okay.
When was their last win over Cleveland State?
2016.
It was actually a triple overtime thriller. PFW won 102-98, and on Valentine's Day 2022. This was actually it was the 2021-2022 season when PFW had to play Cleveland State twice in the regular season because of COVID cancellations. We actually
You mean 3 times?
3 times, excuse me. This is actually we talked to Kaufman about this.
Yeah. That's a terrible draw. And
Yeah,
he said it cost them an NIT bid.
Yep.
That's some bull, dude.
They won against Cleveland State in the first matchup of in the third matchup of the season.
But they
had already lost twice,
yeah.
So Cleveland State had the tiebreaker,
and because they tied for the conference title.
Yep, and Cleveland State had that tiebreaker.
So then they got the auto bid. That's some BS, dude.
Yeah. But we talked about it in the IUPUI game. It's just a good old fashioned beatdown. Mulder popped off 15
He's
points.
efficient, baby.
He was 7 for 7 from shooting. It was actually a career high in field goals for him in a game. 7, yeah.
I wish he had hit all his free throws so that he would have been perfect for the night.
Yeah, and they actually took their first 20-point lead in the game off of a Mulder put back dunk, put him up 51-30. So
no one works harder than him, man.
Yeah. I mean, he gets up every game.
He's selective about his shots. He takes, he takes the ones he knows he needs to.
Yep.
Purdue, and they stayed 2, just like we talked about when we were talking about IUPUI. They stayed 2.
Yep.
They went 1-0 this week. Obviously, they're 23-2 overall, and they're 12-2 in the conference. So they beat IU 79-59. That was tonight for us. That was 2 days ago for you. Could be 6 days ago. I don't know when you listen to this. Honestly, it's getting a little meta. But
is it safe to say that Braden Smith and Zach Edey are the best 1-2 punch in college basketball?
Hang on. Let me carry my one. Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is.
mean, they were the only two players in double digits for Purdue. Edie had 26. Braden Smith had 19. They just couldn't be stopped.
I mean, it's like,
Braden Smith almost had a double-double again. He had 9 boards.
You mean he almost had a triple-double? No, sorry. He almost had a double-double. He only had four assists this time.
He had 4 steals too.
Yeah, he put up some Marcus Burton numbers, dude. Yes, I don't understand. I mean, again, we kind of talked about this with the Indiana side of it, like not having Xavier Johnson, let them, loose.
Yep.
But the thing that obviously everyone talks about is Zach 3D. Dude banked in a 3 from the top of the key. He's now shooting 50%. Add him to the green light graphic that they put out the other week.
Yep.
He
went one Mackey. I thought the roof was going to collapse.
That's probably
that 3.
That has to be the loudest Mackey has ever been.
Everyone was been talking about Mackey. They were like, they hit like 124.3 decibels a couple games ago,
and it was like the loudest registered. That has to top it.
I'm curious. I'm sure we'll see it later this week. I'm sure it's out now. We just haven't been on Twitter. But it got to be the loudest
because
and it's Zach Edey
3D.
Zach 3D. He hit it and he just put up his threes.
Yeah.
He's already a large human, but he just looked like he was 8 foot tall at that point when he did that, just because of how monstrous of a moment that was.
Yeah, I mean it like that fully encapsulated like how the game went.
Yeah.
Zach Edey hit a 3 against you. Like what? Oh, was it a 1 possession game? Like no, they were up 20. No, they were up 25, and he put them up 28 with that 3.
Yeah.
Purdue kind of get left off the gas pedal for a minute, and we're flirting with not covering, and then
I will say one thing I do want to bring up is I wasn't necessarily a huge fan that Painter left in all of his starters with.
Yeah, like 3 minutes ago when they were up like 25.
Even 5 minutes ago they were up 20, and it's just like, to me,
because he didn't pull their starters out till under a minute.
Right. To me, that's I understand you want to make sure that your team wins against your rival, but there's just so much inherent risk with one of those guys got hurt. Because essentially at that point you're up 20. That's garbage time.
Because it's the same thing he said earlier in the season, right? Where he was like, when people wanted Braden Smith to get the triple double and he needed like 1 rebound.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if I put him back in and
Right. And that's kind of like sitting here, it's like, okay, there's just so much risk there. I understand the circumstances, but
well, let me ask you a question: is it more respectful to keep in your starters, but take your foot off the gas a little bit, or is it more disrespectful to keep your starters in and take your foot off the gas, or is it more disrespectful against your rival, mind you, to just put in like the back end of your bench?
I think it's more disrespectful to leave the starters in.
Think so?
Yeah, because it's just like, I don't know. I'm
torn on that one. I don't know.
I
mean, it was just a beatdown.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was like it was like the IUPUI PFW game, basically. Like the first TV timeout, the first 4 minutes, IU was like leading, I think, and we were like, oh, okay, we might have something here. And then I texted you and I was like, there comes a point where IU just stops and something changes, and Purdue and Matt Painter just took care of business. I mean, Edey had 26. He, had 13 rebounds again. Braden Smith had 19 and 9. They didn't really need, much help from anyone else.
Yeah.
Like Lance Jones got that technical for egging on the crowd with the IU sucks chant.
Yep.
No one loves being at Purdue more than him.
True.
That is fact.
That is fact. Facts. Want to talk about Southern Indiana?
I do, because
they took a big drop in Ken Palm, 328 from 327.
Dude, I know. They just needed to pull off that one win, which is crazy because they got a 17-point win.
Yeah, they went 1-1 this week. They are 7-18 overall, 4-8 in the conference. They lost to Eastern Illinois by 10, 81-73. Then they won over Southern Illinois University Edwardsville, SIUE, 84-67. I mean, I don't have much to say personally about the Eastern Illinois. I'd rather talk about some some fun information I found going into the SIUE game. So if there's anything you want to bring up about
No,
Eastern Illinois.
just Southern Indiana in general. I want some Screaming Eagles gear. One, because I think the mascot is just the coolest name.
Oh yeah.
But I need someone to hook me up with some Screaming Eagles gear. I don't know if he listens, but I know Sam Mervis follows us.
Tap in.
I need something.
Hit the DM. Our DMs are open.
I will wear Southern Indiana gear proudly. I was playing basketball with my former coworkers, and one of them's from Evansville, and she's an Aces fan. And she was talking about, like Southern Indiana was Division II, and basically saying that like Southern Indiana was like little brother, like they called it like like junior college, or like maybe she called it something high. So they just I like them both, but just the Screaming Eagles dude is so tight.
Yeah,
she was telling me actually that her like dad's her like stepmom or something, some relative of hers used to take smoke breaks with Bruce Pearl's like wife or something.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome. Funny when he was there.
And actually, I found out my cousin's dad. So he's my cousin through marriage.
Mm-hmm.
His dad.
So not your uncle, but like
yeah. Actually went to Southern Indiana.
Screaming Eagles.
Yep, he was. I was talking to him about the podcast, and they were trying. I was quizzing a different cousin and him to see if they could name all 11 Division I schools, and they got, I think, a total of like, they got like 8 or 9, and I listed off all 11, and they were like, Southern Indiana?
Like where you been the last 2 years?
He was just surprised because he went there years ago, and obviously they weren't Division I.
Yeah,
so he was pretty pumped about it.
Good.
He thought it was pretty neat. But going into the SIUE game, USI is actually 13-8 all time against SIUE, dating back to 2000. 14-8 now, obviously. They're 13-6 in conference games, which is interesting because you see, how do they play so many conference games?
Right, when they've been in the Division I for 2 years.
SIUE was actually Division II up until 2008 in the Great Lakes Valley Conference, which was the same conference Southern Indiana was in. So they played some Division II conference matchups. After making the jump to Division I, SIUE was actually independent for 3 seasons before the OVC picked them up. So that's kind of interesting. USI got picked up instantly when they moved up to Division I, and SIUE took a couple years.
They just went in just ready, just with no home to go to.
Yeah. And I mean, it was really cool. A lot of our teams, Purdue Fort Wayne, formerly PFW, I believe, IUPUI, I think one more maybe, we're all in the Great Lakes Valley Conference historically. So
UIndy's in there now.
Yeah, UIndy. A lot of ties to the Great Lakes Valley Conference. Didn't really realize that.
It's a gateway conference.
I mean,
stepping stone.
Pretty much, yeah.
Did you say that this was the SIUE game? So they won. So like this is nice to see that they didn't lose a game that was like within 5 points.
Yeah. Yep.
And like they won by what, 17?
Yep.
And it was the second largest crowd in the Screaming Eagles arena. So like
I believe it was homecoming.
Yeah.
So
palpable buzz. People are saying. OVC Rothstein.
Yeah. I mean this Southern Indiana, they just everyone got theirs. Like everyone was flirting with double digits.
Yeah.
I mean, Hiddle had 9. He was their lowest scoring starter. They had, Powell had 0. That's, neither here nor there.
Our boy Mervis had 7.
Mervis had 7. Hall had 8. All 3 of those off the bench. And they had 2 guys with 15. AJ Smith was 17. Campion had 13. So Jeremiah Hernandez hitting free throws like we expect.
Dude goes to the line more than anybody, man. I love it.
Quite literally, he went to the line 5 times more than
anyone else on
the team.
Let's wrap it up with our last team here. So we have Valparaiso. Yes. They went down in KenPom 6 spots. So they're 287. They're down from 281. They went 0-2 this week, unfortunately. Bit of a rough one for them. They are 6-19 overall and 2-12 in the Missouri Valley. So they're in a 6-game losing streak. They lost, like we previously said, by 40 points at Indiana State. And then they were flirting with like another bad game like that at home to Belmont. They ended up losing 96-78. But their second half was a lot better than their first half. I mean, they were down bad in the first half, and then they pulled it back. Yeah, they did get doubled up, didn't they?
Yeah.
54-27. 54-27. They got doubled up in the first half.
That is how math works.
So they won the second half 51-42 in that game. But
yeah, I mean, in the Indiana State game, Casper Sepp had 15 points. He was 5 for 8 shooting. This came after he had been scoreless in 3 of the last 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that like gives him some confidence. You play that well against a good team. I don't know exactly what he finished with against Belmont, but did he have 0?
He had 0, I believe. Yeah.
I didn't.
All starters were in double figures except Sepp, who had 0.
Okay, so I didn't.
Maybe not the next game, but the next game.
Yeah. I mean, Belmont was also a good team, so like.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Belmont game, Cooper Swiger, our guy, he leads the Missouri Valley freshman in conference, only scoring at 13-1 per game. The next highest is Kevin Overton from Drake, who has 9.8. And then Chuck Bailey, our guy from Evansville, he's in third at 8.7. So Cooper Swiger is definitely, I think, freshman of the year. The Missouri Valley, I think it's safe to say the dude just leads so many categories.
He should be.
He's also one of 7 freshmen nationally who's averaging at least 12 points and 5.5 rebounds a game. So he's
good for him.
Definitely,
he's got a promising future.
Yeah.
Especially if Powell can keep him.
And then Diavero, he actually moved up to 20th in program history for Valpo in career assists.
Good for him.
He moved past Ron Howard. Ron Howard had 247. Diavero's currently at 249. 19th is Daniel Sackey, who's got 269. So Diavero, he's flirting with just moving up constantly. Also 16 assists away from cracking the top 10 in single season assists. He's currently has 130 and he needs 146. So what?
Ron Howard. I didn't realize he went to Valpo. From the Pacers?
Yep.
1 year at Marquette, 3 years at Valpo. The more you know.
Did he start at Marquette?
He started at Marquette. His freshman year was at Marquette in 01-02. And then he went to Valpo for 3 years. My Valpo lore is not up there.
It should be after that great conversation we had with Paul Oren of the Victory Bell.
I know, dude. I'm sorry. NBA D-League champion, NBA D-League MVP, Ron Howard.
Ron Howard's a baller.
Yeah.
And now Diavero's a better
Same
assist
company.
man.
What are you
going to do?
Future NBA G League MVP.
Some are
Darius
saying.
Diavero.
Some are saying.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. I mean, a couple of tough outcomes, but
yeah,
this kind of shows you, how tough your team is if they're going to keep fighting and whatnot. So, nice to see that they didn't give up.
I have a question for you then.
Okay. The answer is no.
Well, our fans are going to be upset because I was going to ask who our Week 14 Jimmy Chitwood Player of the Week was.
And the answer is no. Our Player of the Week is no. No.
I don't know who that is.
No, like New Orleans. The Pelicans. It's Zion. I just picked Zion. I don't know what he did this week in the NBA. No. Jimmy Chitwood Player of the Week 14 is Marcus Burton from Notre Dame. He had 16 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, and 6 steals in their win against Virginia Tech. So that is, first of all, 6 steals is the third most steals in Notre Dame history.
In a single game.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's only the third Notre Dame player since 1996 to have 16 points, 8 assists, and 6 steals.
You're welcome for that stat, by the way.
Actually, mine was a little bit different. Mine was updated with his new numbers.
I provided his new numbers, though.
No, I found mine on their website.
Ooh, but I already said them.
Actually, yours were different numbers. Yours were 16-5-5.
It was 15-5-5 is to move him up into
Uh-huh.
the third ever. And then I said he finished with
Yeah.
16-8-6.
But you didn't tell me he was the third Notre Dame player ever to have that.
Literally said that. Check the tape. Check the tape. You can also check my notes.
I don't think so. But also he led the team to a huge win against Virginia Tech. And, Shrewsbury was talking about the team and talking about, people are showing up because they are showing up. They're showing up to play.
Yep.
And, it's not like the ability to win is not always there just because of, the team and the way it's made up and the people they're playing against. But they give the effort, they play hard, and Marcus Burton is just playing as hard as he can for this team, and I think it shows. And so he's Chitwood this week, and our friend Cody from Smash Hit Sports texted me in the middle of the game. He's like, Marcus Burton is him. And who's him? Jimmy Chitwood is him.
Yeah, and I'll even say, taken from, a MLB player that I thoroughly enjoy, Marcus Stroman. I don't think he got it trademarked, but he has a phrase. He's very small. He's like 5'8" as a pitcher, and that's not common.
Mm-hmm.
He has a phrase as height doesn't measure heart. HDMH. I think that applies to Marcus Burton.
Yeah.
Because he's also 5'8".
I don't know how tall he is, but yeah, he's definitely small. Look at the small point guards in the state of Indiana. We got Marcus Burton and Braden Smith.
Yeah.
Just, short kings, I guess.
True. I mean, Gabe Cupps also is, he's coming into his own. He's also a short king.
Yeah.
So, impressive. Let's talk about games, our in-state games next week. Yeah, so a couple games that I have kind of earmarked are Butler home against Marquette, Butler home against Creighton. Against Marquette, Butler are their 3-point dogs. Against Creighton, they're 1-point dogs. Butler stole these road games away from Marquette and Creighton. Beating them at home, I think it's just going to be another major boost to their resume. We talked about it earlier. They're pushing for that single-digit seed. If they can steal at least one of these games, I think that's going to help them. I mean, people are saying,
that, Jaron?
Sounds like a broom.
That's a broom.
What do you do with the broom?
You sweep them. You got to complete the sweep you have the opportunity to complete the sweep on 2 ranked teams in the same week. Joe Lunardi will still probably say they're on the bubble, but
we have made our stance very clear on Joe Lunardi. If you aren't aware,
you win.
Listen to last week's episode.
You win both of those games, Butler. You are, talking about being the conversation 8-7 line.
Yeah,
that's like a seed line thing. IUPUI has a not a must win, but a don't lose game this week. So on Valentine's Day. Yay! On Valentine's Day, how are you going to spend your Valentine's Day? If you're a sicko, you're going to spend your Valentine's Day watching IUPUI at Detroit Mercy.
I guess I'm a sicko then.
Are you a sicko? It's for all the Succession fans out there. Yep. They played Detroit Mercy. They are actually 5-point underdogs, and Detroit Mercy is 0-20 something,
24, 26.
They
haven't won a game.
They are winless.
Yeah. They got a donut in the win column.
Yeah, so they got to make sure that they are not the team that loses to Detroit Mercy.
Yep. And I've got Ball State. They have one game. They play Miami. I believe they have one game.
Yep. Yeah.
They play at Miami of Ohio. They are 3-point dogs. This is a big game for me because Miami, I believe, is like they're a game. They're one full game ahead of Ball State. I think they're 7th in the MAC. Ball State's currently sitting at 9th, and stealing this game is going to help them. I mean, they're at this point they're just in the hunt to make the MAC tournament.
Yeah,
like we talked about, only 8 teams make it.
Can't win the auto bid if you don't make the tournament.
Exactly. So definitely, in my opinion, this is a must-win game for Ball State. Every game the rest of the season is a must-win game for Ball State.
Yep.
to some degree. So
Yeah. Until they get, safely in.
And they do have a pretty favorable remaining schedule, but they got to steal a game like this.
Yeah.
So
especially because they've dropped quite a few that they should not have dropped that
Right.
they had in the bag at home.
Yep.
For me, Indiana State on Saturday goes to Southern Illinois. They've got another game this week, I believe. Yes, they do, but it's home. This Southern Illinois game to me feels like their last like real chance, unless they fall asleep at the wheel, to like lose a game.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've got Xavier Johnson, who's top 5 still, I think. For Southern Illinois, yeah. So they've got to play against him. So they've got to play against some scorers, and they ended up winning at Missouri State, and now they just got to go win at Southern Illinois. After that, I think they only have Valpo away. They've got like 2 more away games, and they should be able to handle them. So they've got to win this game to stay firmly ahead in first place in the Missouri Valley.
They should be able to coast through the remaining season. Except for this game, is really kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, like don't think this season's don't think the season title is in the bag, because you can trip up anywhere in the Missouri Valley. I mean,
we've talked about it all season.
Yeah, anyone can beat you in the Missouri Valley.
Yep.
And then the last one on here that we bookmarked is IU at home against Northwestern. They've got a week off, but every game is literally a must win. So, I mean, you're playing must wins or the NIT, pretty much.
Yeah. Let's check in on the other 49 states. So, a lot happened. A lot happened last week. Starting off, Kansas State beat Kansas at home 75-70 in overtime. This was last Monday. Jerome Tang,
the GOAT,
is 11-0 in overtime in his career. Insane. The dude just says, "Oh, you want to play an extra 5 minutes? Bet."
There's some crazy stat where Florida State has 14 consecutive overtime wins.
Yep.
So like, is it like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object if Kansas State and Florida State played each other?
Ooh,
and they would have to go to overtime, and they just keep going, like double overtime. It just keeps going.
Is there
a point where it like ends, or do they just keep going?
I honestly don't know.
I'm pretty sure it just keeps going.
8 overtimes. Wow. You just play 2 full games back to back.
Everyone's fouled out. You're like deep bench.
You're playing like Alabama did a couple years ago when Colin Sexton was there,
yep.
and they had
everyone got ejected.
They were playing 3-on-3, 3-on-5. Yeah, that's just, and they still almost they were competing even down 2 players. And then Virginia looked like Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
They put the beat down on Miami 60-38. It's nice to see Virginia playing like they should, because they've been this year kind of up and down.
Yeah, they've been a little bit disappointing. Like, this is not the
makes Notre Dame's win against them look a little better.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Unfortunately, it's not like a resume booster because their resume is not good, but still
it feels, it's a feel good.
Yeah, but it's at the point where like the Notre Dame loss is a mar on the Virginia resume, not like a plus on the Notre Dame resume.
That's fair.
Especially because they got smacked by 20.
That's a good spin zone.
Clemson beat number 3 Carolina at Carolina by 4.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Remember, there are 2.
No one calls South Carolina Carolina, though.
How do you know?
I've been there.
You can't just be there and know.
I've been there. I listen to Cal. I pay attention to college basketball. But anyway, so they beat North Carolina on Tuesday by 4, and Armando Bacot was basically like, we didn't even finish practice the day before the game. No one was taking it seriously at shoot around. Yep. So that's how you lose a game.
Yeah.
Baylor beats Texas Tech on Tuesday by 6.
Oklahoma put a beat down on BYU, 82-66. Mind you, BYU is a team that can score the ball.
Yeah.
They can score.
I mean, they're all like dirty, dude. I mean, they've been playing ball for a long time.
Yeah, but like they just got absolutely run off the court.
Yeah. Another team that didn't get run off the court literally, but is sliding into the gutter.
They are
is Wisconsin. Yeah. Michigan beat Wisconsin, and Michigan is, I think, still last in the Big Ten, or at least was when they went in to play this game with Wisconsin. So they lost with Michigan beat Wisconsin in Ann Arbor on Wednesday by 4, and then on Saturday, Wisconsin lost to Rutgers by freaking 22.
Yeah.
And did Purdue break Wisconsin? Or maybe Michigan State did, because they lost 4 straight. At Nebraska, home to Purdue, at Michigan, and at Rutgers.
It's in the Michigan State game, they did a Space Jam, like, touch the ball to get the Monstars powers, and then it just ran out.
It's interesting because I remember, like, last year, 2 years ago, they were people were talking about, like, we need to fire Greg Gard. And then, like, a month ago, people were like, Greg Gard can do no wrong.
Yep.
Now you lost 4 straight and including Rutgers and Michigan. That's a bad look. So they were literally like a month ago, they were on like the discussion for the 2 seed line.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
That is for sure.
Bama beat Auburn by 3 on Wednesday, and then they lost to Florida. Auburn lost to Florida today, 81-65. So it's tough for Auburn, which is like that's like a transitive loss for IU to Florida by like 67 then, based on how Auburn manhandled Indiana.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Providence beats Creighton in overtime on Wednesday. Oh, here's something random. Was it just last week where Scott Drew got ejected?
Yep.
Or was that 2 weeks ago? We didn't talk about that. That was
I think it was last week.
So we haven't talked about it yet. He was.
No, it was 2 weeks ago.
Okay, maybe it was 2 weeks ago where he was kneeling outside of the coach's box, and they teed him up and ejected him, and they ended up beating Iowa State.
I think we did talk about it because like there were several coaches, like Archie was actually on the court.
Yeah. Yes.
Guarding,
yes.
And he didn't get ejected.
Did you see Kelvin get ejected?
I saw. Yeah, he was arguing. They were up 20.
Yeah.
Right, and then he was just arguing because there were just terrible calls.
But did you see how he argued it?
No.
He walked across the entire court. He walked from his side across midcourt all the way over to the refs on the other baseline, arguing about the calls and how physical it was, because he and Scott Drew and everyone has been saying that the Big 12, they've been letting it be too physical, which I love, because they're also not allowed to say anything. Yeah. And like one of the reporters like asked Kelvin afterwards like about it, and he's like, if I answer your question, I'm going to be fined $25,000. Like, I cannot answer. Why would you ask me that question?
Yeah.
So I like that, because some of the officiating is atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If you make millions, what's $25K?
I mean, $25K is $25K.
Yeah. That's $25K to me is not $25K to Kelvin.
True. Where were we?
We were at Syracuse.
Yep. Syracuse beat Louisville by 2. Louisville's bad, but not as bad.
I don't know. Someone has lost to Louisville.
Is Payton going to save his job?
No.
Okay.
They could make the turn. They could win the ACC tournament, and he would still get fired.
They could probably win the Natty, and he'd still get fired.
Honestly, I'd be like, thanks for the. Did we say this last week?
Yeah.
Thanks for your service. Thank you. We're moving on.
I don't know if we said it on the show, but we definitely talked about it. FAU went into UAB and lost by 3, 76-77. That's tough. Friday night was just a bad night of games. There were 3 games total, 2 ranked games. But if you were a ranked team on Friday, you lost. 18 Dayton lost to VCU, 49-47. Pretty crazy ending to the game, right? There were just several opportunities for Dayton to
nobody could
win,
score,
and no one could I think they had like 3 offensive rebounds and just still couldn't
Yeah.
make a basket.
It was like a minute and a half possession that
Yeah.
like never moved to the other side. It was
Yeah. And then
bad.
24, San Diego State, a team I talked about last week that I like. This was our game of the night for Friday. They lost at Nevada 66-70. Unranked Big Ten teams playing at home against ranked opponents is dang near death sentence. Talked about it. Rutgers beat Wisconsin. Michigan State upset Illinois 88-80 in the Breslin Center. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been the tale of all season, right? If you're an unranked team playing at home against a ranked team, the favors in the hands of the home team in that situation.
Yeah, it's scary to be on the road.
Yeah,
Unless you're Purdue. But
yeah.
even they have two away losses. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I even saw a stat since 2010, I believe, and we tweeted about it as well. Home unranked teams. I think it might have just been unranked teams playing against ranked teams.
Mm-hmm.
This season is the first winning season since 2010. The 2010-2011
where the
season.
unranked teams that beat the ranked.
Yeah,
10
so like
or better
unranked teams have
over 500.
They're
winning
over
percentage,
500
yeah.
winning percentage against ranked opponents. Then the last closest was maybe like 2014, and it was like 380.
Yeah, I think the gap is smaller this year. This is a year where like you're talking about like great teams.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about like Purdue and UConn really are like, it's like Purdue and UConn are like the Final Four contenders, and then everyone else is just kind of floating around.
Yep.
And you're seeing teams like James Madison, be in there, they fall out, they get back in there, and I think that the gap is way smaller versus
I think it's fun. I think that's good for basketball.
That's what I want. I mean, that's what I want out of college basketball. Like, it is fun when you see, like a Kentucky team, go make it to the national championship game and, are undefeated to that point or whatever.
Yep.
Or like when we had Baylor and Gonzaga and, they basically ran the table all year almost. And then those years are fun too.
Yeah.
But it's way more fun when like, is it going to be Purdue in the Final Four or is it going to be like Auburn?
Right.
Yeah. Or is it going to be someone who's like in the 30s? So I think it's fun when there's less of a gap for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say here's a fun little kind of stat I found. So Gonzaga beat 17 ranked Kentucky at Rupp.
Another team that shouldn't be ranked, Kentucky. But go on. Won't be ranked when you listen to this.
Probably not. I'm pretty sure this means Gonzaga's like 125-0 in games that they lead by double digits at half. So that was fun to see. This is also the first time ever that Kentucky has lost 3 consecutive games at Rupp.
Yep.
The last time Kentucky lost 3 games in a row at home was the 66-67 season when they played at the Memorial Coliseum when Rupp was the head coach and Pat Riley was averaging 17.4 points per game. It was also Gonzaga's first quad 1 win.
Them and IU got quad 1 wins this week. Yeah, this is a game that Gonzaga had to have, or
Their
at large chances were 0.
Yep.
Just a couple more games. Baylor lost at number 4 Kansas, 64-61. Tennessee lost to A&M, pretty bad, 85-69. UNLV beat New Mexico at New Mexico by 3. And our games of the week, Battle of the A10 Saints.
Our guess the games of the week.
Our guess the games of the week. A10 Saints, Battle of the A10 Saints. St. Joe's beat St. Louis 87-86.
The cows with horns grazing on a popular complex carb. South Florida beat Rice 69-65. Nice. Let's talk about next week. This week when you're listening, I guess. Our Monday game of the day. Number 4 Texas Tech at 23.
Number 4
go ahead
Kansas.
Go ahead and tell me what this was, Adam.
Number 4 Kansas at number 23 Texas Tech.
It's 9 p.m. Kansas has been iffy on the road this year. And we talked about it. Winning on the road is really hard.
Yeah, especially in the Big 12.
Yep.
Yeah, I wrote it down wrong in our notes. I wrote down number 4 Texas Tech at 23 Texas Tech at 9 p.m. on Monday. Okay, I made an oopsie. It's 12:40 right now. I'm sorry. Okay,
It's actually 12:39.
yeah. Okay. Actually, it's whatever time they're listening to this. It's 7:14 p.m. Thursday night.
Maybe
You're making dinner, late dinner. Tuesday, our game of the day is Ole Miss at now, when we recorded this, ranked 17 Kentucky. When you're listening to this, unranked Kentucky. I picked this game because if Kentucky drops a 4th consecutive game in Rupp Arena, John Calipari might not make it home.
I mean, I thought last year John Calipari was on the hot seat.
Yeah.
And this year they've been playing better.
Yeah.
But you can't just.
They played.
This is not the history that you want to make.
They played too well too soon.
Yeah.
So like everyone was like, "Holy crap, we're really good," and then now they've dropped 3 straight at home for the first, Rupp for the first time ever. So they cannot lose that 4th game, or John Calipari's job and life is in danger in Lexington.
Yeah. Wednesday, our game of the night rather. Number 15 South Carolina at 12 Auburn at 8:30 p.m. Auburn needs a bounce back win after their loss to Florida. That's just, and you texted me during the Florida game, is Auburn broken?
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll find out. We're gonna find out. We think for a while we thought they were deservedly of a top 10 team, and
they looked like it.
Yeah, they looked like it, but that's a couple
just how
weeks
the
ago.
Season has gone. Everyone's looked great, and everyone's looked kind of cheeks.
Yep.
Thursday, our game of the night is Memphis at North Texas, the Mean Green. So it's at 8 p.m. on Thursday. Memphis legitimately might not make the tournament, and they were ranked earlier this year.
They've just plummeted.
The American Conference, I don't know, could be a 1-bid league, could be a 2-bid league. We'll see. FAU will probably make it out of there, but I mean, their resume's not great either. So we'll see what happens in the American, and Memphis they just need to start winning more to make the tournament.
Yep. And then Friday night, we've got some action. Ohio at Toledo, 9 p.m. Toledo's currently sitting second in the MAC, so
Ohio's like 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, they're on the cusp of being in the top. So yeah. I think they're tied with a couple of teams in that spot. So big MAC implications going on there.
Mm-hmm. Saturday night, we've got a top 10 matchup for you. Number 7 Marquette and number 1 UConn at 3 p.m. Did I say that night? I meant that day.
Yep.
I mean, if you're an a fan of Indiana teams, or if you're a fan of Purdue, you obviously want UConn to lose, or maybe you don't want UConn to lose. Maybe you want them to stay 1 because you've been having success at number 2.
Yeah.
But
anyway, Purdue with 1 next to their name is almost a curse.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could boost Purdue to number 1, but, UConn and Purdue are the 2 best teams in the country. So It's always nice to watch them, especially against a team that has been good and has been down like Marquette.
Yeah. And then Sunday, our game of the day, 2 p.m., we've got Chattanooga at Furman. Man, it's a good SoCon matchup.
Go Dins.
Right there. Yeah. So, forget who went first last week.
I think you went first. I think it's my turn to go first this time.
So I make you guess?
No, I think I make you guess,
right?
Right.
Yep. I think it doesn't really matter. Just
because you went and then I guess, and I don't know. I'll go first this time. Okay, so
mind you, I'm 0-3.
Yeah,
so
you are 0-3.
I have not done well.
Yeah, you're 0-3. I'm 1-2. So we'll see what happens this week. My game of the week is a feline battle in the jungle.
Feline, what? Arizona?
Not Arizona. You're barking up the right tree, though.
Northwestern?
Still right tree.
I don't know. I suck at mascots. Memphis?
Nope. You're getting closer. Geographically, you're getting closer to one of the to the teams. The in the jungle part.
Yeah, you're talking about an arena.
Uh-huh.
I'm just spacing on what arena is referred to as the jungle.
The Feline Battle.
At Auburn?
Okay.
Auburn at not at
Auburn play their student section is the jungle.
I didn't realize that.
Auburn Tigers.
What SEC or animals? LSU at Auburn?
No.
Kentucky at Auburn?
Kentucky at Auburn.
Let's go.
Wildcats at Tigers in the jungle. That is at 6 p.m. on Saturday, February 17th.
Put me on the board, baby.
I had to give you some clues. We'll count it.
Doesn't matter.
We'll count it.
I got there. All right. My game for you. 2 words. Flying Rams.
Flying Rams. I'm going to go right off the bat, Dayton at Rhode Island.
No. Dayton?
Okay. Dayton VCU.
No. Just one more Rams mascot in the conference.
The A10. It's not Rhode Island. There are multiple Rams in the A10. 3 Rams at least.
At least.
Okay. It's Dayton at.
It's at Dayton.
At Dayton. Any other hints?
No.
Ram. Dayton. Not St. Bonaventure. Not St. Louis. Not St. Joe's?
No.
Are
St. Joe's the Rams?
I don't know. Aren't they all the... Isn't everyone in the A10 the Rams?
Dang near.
I don't know. I can't think of another A10 school.
You giving up?
No.
Okay.
Great content. Okay, everyone listening, tell me who it is. You got no other hints for me? I don't know.
Fordham.
Oh, the Fordham Rams.
The Fordham Rams at Dayton. That is Saturday at 1:30.
Okay, I'll remember that. Never given you a second clue ever.
Sorry, I don't know enough about Fordham to give you a hint without telling you it's Fordham.
That's on you. All right. No, we're both 1 and 3. Jaren's never gonna get one ever again.
It's not fair.
Sorry.
I was in a time crunch. All right, it was late.
Oh, did the games just get solidified?
Yeah.
Tonight.
Yep. Schedule's just released for next week.
Weird. Weird how that works. Oh,
Yeah.
Convenient,
Jaren. It happens. Well, Adam's mad at me. So
what else is new?
I'm just going to go ahead and let's wrap it up here. The clock is showing quadruple zeros. It's time for us to get out of here and go to bed. It is 1 a.m. The latest we've recorded.
1 p.m.
Did I say 1 p.m.?
Yeah.
It's 1 a.m. Wow. It's late. Thanks for checking in the State of Basketball podcast. See you next week. And remember, in 49 states,
it's just basketball.